our Thursday afternoon ChathamNC Sports Roundup. Just want to make sure we are all working correctly. Need to check the channels to make sure we're hooked up. We're sending data. Facebook is streaming. We're waiting for YouTube and X. X is streaming and YouTube is streaming. So we're all set to go. All right, folks, G and Galin with the Chatham Journal. We got Asheebo Rojas, the sports writer for Chatham News and Record. And boy, do we have a whole bunch of information for you this Thursday. We're, of course, going to talk about indoor track and field. We had some winners here in Chatham County. High school wrestling, that's going on. We've got state tournament time. High school swimming, again, some winners in Chatham County. High school basketball, we've got some conference games going on this week. We'll get into the power rankings, and then we'll get into what is in today's Chatham News and Record. You can pick that up every Thursday, the weekly paper that comes out in print. We'll get into everyone's favorite, Asheebo's Athlete of the Week, and then we'll talk about where Asheebo and I will be for the next couple of sporting events. PJ will also be involved. He's going to be out covering some things as well. So let's get rid of this graphic, and let's start off with what's going on with indoor track and field, Asheebo.
Yeah, indoor track and field, we had some state champions win last week that we discussed in last week's stream, but we had some more, of course, recently. So we had Ryan Yoder at C4 for the 5A competition. He won his second indoor title for boys pole vault with a mark of 15 feet. And, of course, you guys remember last week as well, big one was Taurus Price from Chatham Charter, winning the 1,600 and 1,000-meter runs, becoming Chatham Charter's first state champion. So we're going to mention that now. We're probably going to talk about it some more later on as well. But that was our most recent state champion with Ryan Yoder this week as 5A. And some of the other classifications finished up the indoor track season in these past few days. Now, Gene, if you really go into swimming as well, I know we had some big state champions in swimming.
Let's get into swimming.
So just in 1A, the lone swimmer at Chatham Central, Jesse Escalon. If you guys have been kind of keeping up with some of our coverage, we've mentioned him in the winter, of course, with his success in regionals, regular season competitions, and then going on to states for all these years. He finally broke through for 2 state championships this week. So he won the boys 100 free and the 50 free. And also in both of those races, it was actually funny that Woods Charter's Derek White finished second in both those races. So we had 2 Chatham County athletes competing for state titles against each other. But Escalon from Chatham Central, the lone swimmer for his school, finished out on top there. And then Daisy Collins, the swimmer at Woods, who's on the U.S. national team, committed to Texas, big-time athlete here in Chatham County. She won her 5th state title. She's only a junior, by the way, winning the girls 200 free and the girls 500 free in this week's state championships. So congrats to Daisy Collins once again, stacking 2 more for her high school career. And then in 5A, Sydney Burley from Seaforth, she got her 4th state title with 2 recently, winning the girls 200 medley and the 100 butterfly. And then her teammate on the boys' side, Colton Roberts at Seaforth, he got his first state title with the boys 500 free. First place finish there. And he finally broke through for him after many years of getting runner-ups in many competitions and events. So cool to see some of our athletes break through after some pretty good years leading up to their last year or second to last year and get some state championships here in Chatham County.
Yeah, it was definitely nice seeing that. And like you said, I saw those things popping up as they were happening. It's kind of like, okay, there's one, and then there's another one, and there's another one. So congratulations to the student athletes out there. And it's nice to see that, hey, that hard work does pay off. So we talked about track and field. We talked about swimming. There's a bunch of stuff going on with wrestling going on this week. So what's going on with wrestling?
Yeah, so wrestling state championships for the individual tournaments start today. Probably going on right now as we speak. And we have a couple of qualifiers from the county as well. So starting on the boys' side, in 1A, we'll have Aiden Hernandez from Chatham Central competing in the 126-pound bracket. And then Carson Williams, also from Chatham Central, competing for 157 pounds. And then in 4A, Jakari Blue coming back to the state tournament from Jordan Matthews. He's going to be competing in the 190-pound tournament there. And then Seaforth, they qualified 4 boys: Gabe Rogers for 144, Harrison Compton for 190, Jordan Miller for 120, and Luke Ayers for 126. And just to mention some more accomplishments for the Seaforth boys. So Rogers, if you guys remember, got his 150th win a month ago. He got his 100th pin in the regionals that they hosted this past weekend. And then Harrison Compton also got his 150th career win in those same regionals. So they're continuing to stack some accomplishments before they head out and complete their stellar careers at Seaforth. And we'll see if Harrison Compton can break through and get a state title. We know Gabe got one, Jordan Miller got one, and Luke Ayers also on the scene here looking for his first one. So pretty interesting to see if some of our boys can break through. But for the girls, we have Alexandra Zumano Garcia from Jordan Matthews and her teammate Mariah Spirell from Jordan Matthews competing in the 1A through 4A state tournament this week. Zumano Garcia, she's going to be competing in 114, and Spirell is going to be competing in 145. And then Seaforth sent 2 girls as well for the 5A tournament. So Liliana Messier is going to be competing in 165, and Sarah Tanner, also from Seaforth, is going to be competing in 132.
Yeah, it was pretty. Come on, there we go. It was interesting to see. I mean, we've expected the stuff from Seaforth. I mean, you did the story on Gabe in the paper earlier this year, and they've had a strong wrestling program there. But I think the nice thing is, and you did a story about Jordan Matthews' wrestling program, the fact that they're coming on strong this year, and you've got got several competitors, both male and female, coming out of Jordan Matthews. And I know when we talked to the coaches when they were at one of the matches, they were happy to see this progress coming along. So congratulations to the JM folks. Seaforth just has that winning tradition going on in wrestling. I think there's stuff going on Saturday with the wrestling, and you and I had talked about this before the live stream, is the fact PJ will be over there taking pictures. So the Chatham News and Record paper will have coverage of that. And we'll talk about that again next Thursday. All right. So we touched on track and field. We touched on swimming. We touched on wrestling. Are you ready to talk about basketball? Because there's a whole bunch of stuff going on. And I know last week you touched on, hey, these are some of the things that we may see coming up into the state playoffs, but we're getting closer to that point. So you want to start off with the conference tournaments and get into what you see as potential for the Chatham County teams in the state playoffs.
Yes. But I do first want to mention, just as a reminder to everybody, that the middle school basketball championships will be this Friday at Northwood. So the boys, they'll be competing in the semifinals tonight. So it's going to be Horton versus Chatham Middle at 5 tonight, and Pollard versus JS Waters at 6:15. Those games are going to be at Horton, but the winner of those games will play 5:45 at Northwood on Friday. And before that, the girls will play their championship final at 4:30 as well at Northwood. And we'll get you the matchup on Facebook and share that out as well once we find it out. But also, too, just a shout out to the Chatham Charter Middle School girls as well. They won their Mid-Piedmont Conference Tournament title last week over Clever Garden, and they finished as conference regular season champs. So just wanted to shout out the middle schoolers before we get into the high school, because there's a lot going on, like Gene said, with basketball, and high school basketball conference tournaments are going on now. And starting on the boys' side, so we had a lot of crazy things happen these past couple of days. Last night, Woods got a big win over Chatham Charter in their conference tournament to put them in their first boys conference tournament title game ever in school history. So I think Woods was down 16. They were down 4 with 16 seconds left. They got a 3 from Grant Richardson that went down. And then after the following possession where Chatham Charter made a free throw, the inbound went to one of the Woods players. I think he missed it. And then Campbell Blackburn actually got the tip. I think it was tipped to Campbell Blackburn. He got it, and with just like 0.6 seconds, he got it in at the buzzer. Woods wins 38-37, like you said, by 1 point. They got the one win over their rival Chatham Charter this season after 2 close games. They just fell short. Remember, the last game was a double overtime thriller. So Woods finally broke through there, and we'll get a chance to play for a conference tournament title. But also Chatham Central will play South Stokes at home for the conference semifinal tonight. So that's something you guys could go out and look at as well. Should be pretty good competition. Chatham Central's been playing some really good basketball as of late. Although South Stokes, they have had some trouble with South Stokes this season. I think they lost 60-28 on the 16th, which was the last game they played. So we'll see if the Bears can get some revenge here. But Seaforth, they advanced to their conference title game, which is going to be Friday at home for them against South Granville. To get there, they had to beat Orange once again, 49-36. So we'll see if they can complete a conference sweep after winning the regular season title, and we'll see if they can complete that with a tournament title as well tomorrow. And then on the girls' side of things, we have Northwood finishing up the regular season against Eastern Randolph at Eastern Randolph tonight at 6 p.m. And then also in the conference tournament, Seaforth, big win over Carborough, 76-35 in their semifinal. So Mia Moore in that one, 30 points, career high, and a new school girls record of 10 threes. So big game for Mia Moore, which is huge for Seaforth because, of course, we expect that kind of thing from Katie Leonard, but because we know Mia Moore can knock down some threes as well. She's done that all season, and she had an explosive night against Carborough in that one. So we'll see if she can keep that up and help Katie Leonard and the rest of the team as they go into the state tournament. But Clever Garden School, they got a 55-43 win over Woods Charter at the Central Tar Heel 1A conference tournament this week as well. Woods Charter just struggled with Clever Garden, one of the teams they just couldn't get over the hump against this year, despite the second pretty close game with Clever Garden as well. And Clever Garden was the regular season conference champion there. But Chatham Charter, they advanced on to their conference title game with a 40-27 win over Southern Wake Academy. So we'll see if Chatham Charter can get over the Clever Garden hump and get a conference title in the tournament. So that's what we have for basketball as far as the conference tournaments. Just wanted to check something right quick. But
all right, and you're going to go into what you see coming up for the playoffs as well. Is that right?
Yes, and also too, the playoff projections. So as of the season ended today, we got those from high school OT. And I'm sorry, I just wanted to check something. I think I did misspeak. Actually, Chatham Charter and Clever Garden shared that regular season conference title this year, so they're going to get a chance to see who's can come out on top for the conference tournament title in that championship game. But for the basketball playoff projections, like we said, if the season ended today from high school OT, in the 1A West for the boys side of things, Chatham Charter is looking at a 4 seed, Woods looking at a 5 seed, and Chatham Central looking at a 6 seed. And going down to 3A East, like we said all year, very deep region for boys basketball this season. Northwood looking at a 6 seed there. And 4A East, Jordan Matthews coming in at 14, and Seaforth coming in at 13 in the 5A East region. So as of right now, it looks like all of our local teams will be able to host that first round or get a bye if they're in that top 8. So looking at Chatham Charter, Woods, Central, and Northwood looking at getting a bye in that first round. Then on the girls side of things, we have a little bit of a shakeup, right? We have a 1A West, Chatham Central looking at a 14 seed, Chatham Charter looking at a 12 seed there. Then in 1A East, Woods Charter looking at a 14 seed. And then in 3A East, Northwood looking at a 4. 5A East, Seaforth looking at a 5. But in 4A East, Jordan Matthews has been kind of on the brink of getting into the tournament. Like we said, depending on that RPI, they actually got a break here. And if the season ends today, they'll be the 24 seed in 4A East as the last team in the playoffs. So we'll see if that can hold through the rest of the conference tournaments throughout the state, and we'll see if they can earn a bid. And if they can, that means all of our local teams in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association will make the state playoffs. So that'll be pretty exciting. But yeah, that's our basketball playoff projections as of now. And like I said, we're just waiting to see how the conference tournaments shake out before we can really see exactly how the state brackets will look.
Yeah, I think most of the tournaments are going to be over Friday, Saturday at the latest, and I think North Carolina High School Athletic Association they usually put their stuff out on Sunday sometime during the day. And that's at this point, I just want to remind folks that you can follow Asheebo on. Let me get that caption up there so that you know for sure. You can follow him on. Where is that? There we go. You can follow him on X. It's Asheebo R38. We'll be posting stuff on the Chatham Journal Facebook page. Asheebo's also got a Facebook page as well, so you can follow him there. That information should all be out by Sunday. We'll probably have an idea as to which games we're going to try to make sure we cover, and we will be back again next Thursday to give you a rundown of what's going on. Hopefully, as Asheebo said, all of our Chatham County school teams will get into the state playoff this year. That would be pretty neat to be able to see. Anything else before we get into your power rankings?
Yeah, so actually nothing else before the power rankings, excuse me. But I was going to say the power rankings this week, not in the paper because I was out this past week. So most of our content, it was done by my editor and the staff we have with the North State Journal and Chatham News and Record. But power rankings, just based off what we saw, right? We saw Woods beat Chatham Charter. We're seeing Seaford continue to be dominant in their conference and stack wins there on the boys side of things. So starting with the boys, I think Northwood, Seaford still are the 1 and 2s. I really like how Chatham Central has looked, and at the end of the season here, they caught some fire, even though they had that big loss to South Stokes to end the regular season. But that's a team that can really score. They can defend as well. They play with a lot of energy, and unfortunately, we didn't get to see them play the rest of our local teams here because of the way the conferences shook out. They did play Jordan Matthews, and they beat Jordan Matthews in one of their games as well. So an interesting team there. I think Chatham Central will be the 3rd spot. I think for 4, I think I'm still going to go with Chatham Charter. And actually not Chatham Charter. 4, I think I'll go with Jordan Matthews. Just knowing, the competition they played, they are a higher classification, but that's a team very athletic as well, that could score and shoot when they're hot. So I think I'll put Jordan Matthews at 4, still put Charter at 5 and Woods at 6. And like we said earlier this year, right, with the boys side of things, it's not that being 6 means you're a bad team. It's just looking at the competition, the wins they're able to get against each other in head-to-heads. Of course, Chatham Charter did get Woods twice this season in the regular season. But I always thought those teams, of course, they've showed all year that they're right there with each other, neck and neck. So that's where I'll put my boys' power rankings. Now, Gene, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised when Woods beat Chatham Charter. I didn't think they were going to do it, but it's hard to win. I mean, you and I have seen this enough times. It's hard to win all 3 games during a season because the other team that you've beaten a couple times already has an idea of how you play, so they've adjusted to that. Agree with the power rankings. And the interesting thing is, I know when you started doing the power rankings, there was, at least I thought, there might be some concern about people going, oh man, this is unfair. But I will let you know, based upon the feedback that I've heard from coaches and players, they enjoy the power rankings. And as Asheebo said, the teams this year are all competitive. They're all good. It's just that they're at different levels. And the neat thing is, I think one of the coaches, I'm not going to name which coach, that said they actually use the power rankings as incentive when they're talking to their team that, hey, we want to play better so that we can go up in Asheebo's power ranking thing. So I think it's pretty steady, pretty straightforward. I think personally the thing I miss is the fact that we have not gotten to see a second Northwood versus Seaford basketball game. That game would have been at Seaford. I think that would have been a very interesting game. I think it would have been a little bit more competitive than the game they played at Northwood. I know Coach Berry had gotten his players. I mean, just look at the way they've been playing up for that. And I know Northwood's been playing very well as well. The question I also had, I noticed last week Chad was out from Northwood a couple of the games. Do you know if he's back in, or is he still on the sidelines?
I have not heard an update about Chad, actually. So I'll have to find out and get with you and let you guys know. But hopefully they can get it back, of course, before the state playoffs. So they're going to need Chad to make a deep run. But yeah, I'll have to ask for an update on that. But yeah, like you said, the boys' power rankings and just what the boys lay out in the county this year has been pretty close, right? Because we even saw Woods give Seaforth a run for their money and actually lead that game late and had a chance to win that game. So that makes this interesting because Seaforth has played a lot better from that game all the way up to this point. I think, and to your point, I kind of agree. I think that Seaforth and Northwood game would have been a lot different than the first time this season, and definitely from the past few years, right, when we saw that matchup. Now, I do think Northwood is still a better basketball team and would win that game, but I think Seaforth, just watching them play, they're playing with a lot more confidence. I think they've really established their identity. They're going to play through Campbell Metter and Declan Lindquist. Those are going to be the guys. Cole Davis is going to facilitate to those guys and also get his buckets when he needs to. And then they're a really good defensive team. And of course, Coach Barry has them playing very intense defense, kind of like Coach Brown. That's the base of the team. So yeah, I think that would have been a very, very interesting matchup if we got it again. But moving on to the girls' power rankings, I think Seaforth and Northwood 1 and 2 there, respectively. And then at 3, seeing 3, 4, 5, it gets interesting. I think from what I've seen towards the end of the year, Chatham Charter is starting to play a lot better. But Chatham Central, it's hard to count them out because they have the size, they have the shooting, of course, the speed as well, the identity of what Coach Adrian Albright likes to have our teams play in. I think I'm still going to put Chatham Central at 3, right? And also considering the competition they played. They played in a really, really tough conference this year. And then Chatham Charter at 4, Woods at 5, and Jordan Matthews at 6 will be my girls' power rankings. And so, Gene, what do you think about that one?
Definitely agree. I think there were very few exceptions this year where I disagreed with you because once you see enough of the play that you can kind of understand it. Again, the Northwood, Seaforth 1 and 2, that hasn't changed all season. Seaforth just consistently plays well. And as you mentioned, even when Katie's not having, and she's always having a good night, but when she's not having her best night, there's other players on the Seaforth team that will step up and, get them to the win. So I'm looking forward to the state playoffs. I think also just stepping back to the boys, I believe Seaforth's playing in the conference championship game on Friday night at Seaforth. Is that not correct?
Yes. They'll be playing South Granville in that game tomorrow night.
Okay, so I know we're jumping a little bit ahead, but Asheebo and I plan to be at the middle school championship games tomorrow at Northwood, so we'll be there because I finally convinced Asheebo last year to attend, and he had a blast covering it. His post-game interview with Coach Bland, I think he had her cracking up, but it was fun. So we'll be out there, but afterwards we'll run over and see the Seaforth boys game. We got to pay attention to the middle school championship game because that is a big event here in the county. So we'll be out there for that. Again, we're jumping a little bit ahead of time, but we're letting you know where we will be tomorrow. All right. Is there anything else before you want? No, we got to talk about what you've got coming up in the paper before we get into your athlete of the week. Also want to let folks know we had over 1,500 views last week, so we appreciate all the folks. We're doing about twice as many views as we did last year, so thank you so much for watching. And I know that if you want to know what's going on, Asheebo's the person. He's out there he doesn't sit up in the press box. He's there in the stands watching the games, talking to the players and coaches after the games. So let's talk about what you've got coming out in the paper today.
Yeah, once again, it's not me in the paper this week. It's our editor, Sean Crest, and the rest of the staff. So we do have a story on Northwood retiring Drake Powell's number. He came back last week. Really cool event. Cool to see, of course, the UNC basketball staff there for him. Cool to see his family as well. And also, too, it was even cooler to see the reaction of the people in the crowd, right? The very packed gym, a lot of little kids eager to see Drake. Then they saw Hubert Davis. They were running up trying to see Hubert Davis. And then, of course, the moment where Drake was able to pull down his jersey. Pretty cool to see him be honored and come back and take in all he accomplished right here in Pittsburgh and at Northwood. So we have a story from that. My editor, Sean Kress, wrote a story on Jaron Stevenson, his ability to step up in the absence of Henry Vasar and Caleb Wilson, which he's done pretty well these past couple games. He's upped his numbers, upped his production, and has been a key piece for UNC trying to stay afloat in this time without those two. But also we have stories from, of course, Northwood and finishing runner-up at the state indoor track and field championships and more results from there. We have the results from the state swimming championships as well. And so I think that's all that we have in the Chatham News and Record this week. Of course, I'll be back this week, so I'll have a new slate of 5 stories for you all. Looking to kind of preview some baseball and softball as well. I know I haven't spent a lot of time talking with coaches and players yet about baseball and softball, even though the season starts on the 25th in the North Carolina High School Athletic Association. But I'm hoping to get some rosters, look at some things from last year compared to this year, and get some previews for you guys to kick off the spring season and the Diamond Sports season as well. So that's what we have, like we said, in the
Are you gonna have the baseball softball previews in next week's paper or the following week's paper?
Next week's, because
okay.
we might have some teams already have played one game. I think the season starts on Wednesday. Not sure. I'm not completely sure off the top of my head if we have local teams playing that day, but they might start that Thursday when the paper comes out. So
I think Seaforth had a scrimmage this week. I know there's been some scrimmages out there, but folks, you definitely need to pick up the paper next Thursday, and you definitely need to come back here on Thursday. And I'm having problems with my keypad here. All right, let's get into your athlete of the week.
Yeah, athlete of the week this week. We've had this athlete featured many times, either in stories or also as athlete of the week. But once again, it's going to go to Taurus Price, the senior runner at Chatham Charter. His historic performance for him, right? First state champion in the school history after winning the 1,000 meter and 1,600 meter runs. He also finished as a state runner-up in cross country in the fall, so he was close to doing it earlier this year. But that's another athlete that's been kind of stacking, getting close over the years, and finally broke through, right, his final year. So congratulations to Taurus and the Chatham Charter track program on their first state champion, and we'll see what they can continue to do in outdoor.
Yeah, yes, it should be an interesting outdoor season as well. And Taurus, congratulations on being this week's Asheebo Athlete of the Week. I know it's something everyone's looking forward to. I think last week you had Cam Fowler as your Athlete of the Week, and it's like his mom knew about it, his uncle knew about it, his grandparents knew about it. People pay attention to Asheebo's Athlete of the Week. So, folks, thank you for watching this on Thursdays, and thank you for picking up the Chatham News and Record and reading Asheebo's stuff. Anything else before we wrap it up for today?
Yeah, other news. Oh, also thanks to Norris Lee for reminding me from watching as well. So the Four Rivers basketball tournament they're running the tournament differently because the Randolph schools had to finish out their regular season this week from a lot of cancellations from the weather weeks ago. So I think Northwood is going to be playing tomorrow night at 8:30. The boys for their championship, and the girls are going to be before that. It's going to be between the first and second best teams in the conference. So, of course, that includes Northwood. As of right now, it's looking like both teams are going to play URI Charter. I'm not totally sure on the girls' side, though, because I think URI and Southwestern are tied. But I think the boys, I think it's pretty set for them to play URI tomorrow night for their conference tournament championship. And then also, too, other news, just keeping up with some of our college athletes as well. We had a story come out last week about that. And then we have more news with McKenna Snively. You guys remember her from Northwood, the girls basketball team. She played 3 years there. She's now at Christopher Newport in the senior year. And she was named to the D3Hoops.com National Team of the Week after a 30-point performance versus Salisbury last week. And then she also has a story featured on her by the school because she had returned in December of this season, missed, I think, the first 10 games of the year after she had to undergo surgery for a torn meniscus in the same knee that she had torn her ACL in her freshman year. So re-injured her knee last season and missed some time. Of course, missed a little bit of this year, and she's back on the court, just tearing it up as a bench player. I think she's averaging 9 points per game. She's knocking down lots of threes, lots of free throws, and just a very productive player on the next level.
Yeah, I've run into her dad a couple of times at the Northwood games. He still comes out to those, and he's real proud of how she's doing. So, and again, I've done this long enough, and I've mentioned this to here and to Asheebo, that I have found that folks that participate in athletics in high school usually do better in school as well as life. So, congratulations, and I also appreciate the fact that Asheebo does follow-up stories on our student athletes who've gone on to play at the college level. So yeah, there's lots of good news out there this week. We'll hopefully have a lot of good news next week as well. Asheebo, anything else before we finish up today?
Nope. I think we have covered it all. Like you said, there's a lot going on between high school, middle school, new season starting next week. So of course we'll talk more about baseball and softball next week's stream as well, and get to previewing some of the teams before they really get into the regular season. But yeah, I think we covered it all as far as all the state champions and what to expect this week. And we'll see how this basketball state tournament fills out. And of course, we'll have coverage from the start of the basketball playoffs, which I think starts on Tuesday, the 24th. So, yep.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy week next week. Definitely come back next week. Definitely pick up a paper next week. And again, as I've mentioned numerous times, you need to follow Asheebo on Asheebo R38 at X, and we're also on the Chatham NC Sports on X as well. But Asheebo's more up to date, and he also does interviews with the athletes and coaches after the game. So, folks, thank you for watching. We appreciate all you watching, and we will see you next Thursday. Follow Asheebo on R30, Asheebo R38 on X, and also make sure to pick up the paper. All right, folks, we'll see you next Thursday. Thank you so much.